It's a new week in the crew Motorfest, and this week's theme is called Forces of Nature, and this is my summit guide. Let's go! All right, real quick before we get into it, if you're looking for any of my Motorfest tunes, you can go to militiagamingco.com, click on Motorfest tools from the top of the page, and there you will find all kinds of different tools, like an interactive map that has all of the locations of everything on there, like the collectibles and everything, the pro settings that I've done, and a few of the communities, and even a full list of vanities. All right, let's get into it. The cars for the Summit Bundle this week are the Lancia Rally 037, the DCB M31 wide body boat, and the Proto A500 helicopter. There are a couple of additional vehicles that I recommend: the Vector V40R powerboat, the Agera R with Nitrochem Pure and Extra Pump, and then a boat of choice. I chose the 1414 Demon with Scorebreaker with Pure and Skilled. You could just use one of the boats that's in the Summit Bundle if you're short on cash though, but you do need Scorebreaker with Pure and Skilled. And then finally a drag car with Nitrochemist and Pure and Frenetic. All right, the keys to this summit are, unfortunately, resets, rewinds, and helicopter parts. Here are the pro settings for the vehicles that I just mentioned, then we'll get into the events. All right, the first event is called Treacherous Fog, and this is with using the Rally 037. Now, we have to talk about something really quickly before we get into the event itself. Basically, there is a rewind mechanic that works really, really well with this specific course, and I strongly recommend using it if you're having a hard time, like getting a good time. So don't beat me up over this. This is actually the strategy that people use in order to get the best times, and you don't have to use it. All right, you can do whatever you want. It's just the strategy for this course. So with that said, before you go into the course, go into your settings, click on the difficulty settings, go to rewind and turn it on. You need rewind to be on for this particular event. All right, let's get into it. So the first part is this first sharp corner. You're gonna wanna cut the flag as soon as possible. Be easy on the throttle. This car does like to slide. This one you can drift, and then you're gonna nos down this hill. When you get to the bottom of this hill, you're gonna rewind at the flag. Once you get to about halfway on the corner, you're gonna stop the rewind and go straight off the hill. Notice on the mini map, your checkpoint is right there. Now the key to this is to go through this sign and not go too fast. If you go too fast, you're gonna go over the checkpoint. You go too slow, you hit the rocks and flip. Just get the speed correct. All right. Then after this one, you're looking for this middle sign here. You're gonna go up this hill and line it up on the mini map. You're going straight towards the next checkpoint. I did a poor job actually. I went too far to the left, but it still worked. When you get here, just rewind again. It'll take you back up to the top of the hill. Go ahead and drop down in, and you guessed it, going right off the hill again. There you go. Now in this section, you're gonna jump over the hill here in just a moment. You're looking for the after the rocks here. I messed this up on this run. I did not do this correctly, but you want to go over this hill directly towards the next checkpoint. I really bumped into it, and I still got a really good time. So you're going to jump down here, and you're basically going to be going the opposite direction, okay? You go the opposite direction through this checkpoint and continue on through the checkpoint. Go up the hill, slightly to the left of the checkpoint text, and then go ahead and go around, get your checkpoint. Again, this is not a very clean run. This one, you just normal turn there. At the end of this hill right here, before this checkpoint, you can use the rocks to slow down. That way you don't have to slow down in the middle. You can cut to the left over here. Helps you with a little bit of time on this side. And then you're going to want to slow down for this corner. Back around. Cross the bridge. Now there is a cut that I did miss on this run. It's important that you can take it, but it might not be necessary because of how fast this car is. You can actually go up and over this hill on the right. You can see on the checkpoint, you can skip this hill. But because the car is pretty fast, it might not be necessary. It's probably a little bit faster though. Just make sure you control speed going in and out of these things. So here is the next little cut here at about 84. You're going to go wide. Control speed as you land. And you're basically home free. I know, it's a wild one. All right, let's get to the next event. All right, the next event is called A Fly in the Storm, and we need to talk about helicopter flying. There's a bunch of different things that the game really doesn't tell you or anything when you're flying the helicopter. So let's talk about that as we play this event. I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit. The normal things that you don't need to know is that you need to go through each checkpoint at the angle that the checkpoint is suggesting. So the thing that you should know though is you should be pointing your helicopter forward. So your left stick up, that points the nose forward. It makes you go forward. Now, without any NOS or anything else, you're just holding forward, holding the trigger. Your helicopter is going to be going slightly at an angle up. So you need to combat that with a couple of different things. NOS will help you push it straight, and your left trigger will help you drop the helicopter down. So you need to use a combination. You're going to be kind of going back and forth to try to keep the helicopter at the level that you need it for the checkpoint. Okay. So as you can see right here, I'm kind of grabbing the left trigger and the right trigger to kind of keep it going, and then using NOS to go forward. Once you've got the angle, you can actually use NOS to go a lot faster. Now, on these guys with the crooked angle like this, sometimes just turning the helicopter will not get that angle. You actually have to hold the X button if you're on Xbox or PC, or the square button if you're on PlayStation, and turn, and the angle of the helicopter will increase even more. But your goal is to go through the center of these checkpoints to get the -1 seconds. You need to build up all those -1s. -1 perfect means you went through it perfectly, the right angle, and towards the middle. You have to get to the middle of that checkpoint. That's your goal with every single one. My advice is not going to be different on the other event. It's exactly the same. So that's what you need to do. And that's basically it. Use as much NOS as you have. I strongly recommend watching my video. I've got a video that's coming out later today. If you're not a member, you don't have access to it yet, but it'll come out around 10 o'clock in the morning after this summit guide. And you can watch that on how to get helicopter parts. But I strongly recommend using that method to get helicopter parts because the parts really matter. I had a very good run on both of the helicopter races, and I was like near the top 10, but the people that were in the top 10 or the top 5, they had nitrochemist. I didn't. Well, I'm assuming they did because I don't know how else you would go faster. So anyways, it is what it is, man. I hope you guys enjoy the helicopter events. I, for one, did not. Let's move on. All right, the next event is called Muddy Rally, and you're using the 037 again. My recording actually cut off the first 28 seconds of this race, but there's nothing at all important in that 28 seconds. You're basically just going straight, following the AI to get to this portion of the road. So, and even from here on, there's not really anything to talk about. So I'm going to fast forward to the parts that matter. All right, right here at 18%, you're going to go into the dirt. I suggest going to the right of this flag. The brick wall will slow you down enough to make this corner, and then continue on your way. Also, at the bottom of this hill, NOS through the water. That'll help you keep your speed up. Here at 25%, go full speed into this corner and use the wall to stop. Then you can NOS out of there. At about 31, 32%, you're going to reset this flag. And then you'll go ahead and basically slow down and slightly drift this one. And then you're going to reset this one. And then the next one, I believe you're going to reset again. Let me make sure. I'm pretty sure I reset this one. Yep, reset this one. And finally, you're going to reset this one. So there's a few resets in a row here. And then you're basically on your way down. Now, this turn at the bottom of the hill is a little bit tricky. So stay wide left. And then cut it as close to the hill as possible to get back here. And then you're going to have to slow down here to take this corner and not hit the rocks. And then you can drift this corner a little bit. Just like that. Here at 49%, you can kind of cut this corner a little bit. Just be careful, don't hit the tree. And then when you get to this corner, you're going to use the wall to slow down. And you can cut to the left, but just be careful. You'll go off the rocks if you cut too far to the left. This checkpoint's super generous. You can go to the left of it. It'll still give it to you. This uphill section is from the Grand Races. Don't use all of your NOS. Just use little bits and pieces until this jump. Then you can blast it. That's how you're going to get the most speed going up this hill. You'll use this wall to stop you. And then cut immediately after this tree. And you're going to go across the grass here and down the hill. Now, there's also a cut here at this checkpoint. I missed it in this clip. But basically, the next checkpoint, if you're looking over here on the minimap, is not until quite a bit after the corner. So you really can cut it to the left right there through those trees. But I cut it super late. And to be honest with you, I think that's what caused me to lose the time that I lost to first place. I think I was in fourth, but when I did this one. So anyways, I believe that's it. Let me fast forward just to make sure. Yep. The rest is just making sure you control your car through the mud and getting to the finish line. All right, let's move on. All right, the next event is called Ecliptic Waves. And this one, I recommend using the V40R. Again, you definitely want Nitro Chemist if you have it. If you don't, it's okay. But Nitro is pretty big in this one. And this first part is really important because this sets you up for the rest of the race. Slight NOS taps in the air only until your NOS bottle gets up to, you know, almost full. You don't want to use a lot of NOS. Now, what's important here is you're using these buoys. You can go on the outside of them, but only by a little bit. You need to use these buoys to get air and use NOS in the air. I just want to give you an example of this. If you didn't know this already, these buoys will jump your boat. You're going 179 into it. You're leaving it over 200. Okay. Same thing with the waves. If you get air with the waves, you need to be tapping the NOS button. Your goal is to keep the boat around 175 miles per hour if you can. And you can use those buoys, you can use the waves to keep pushing the boat over 200. So any little wave, any little air, you should be tapping the NOS. Don't use all of it though. If you use all of it, you won't have any and you're going to have a super slow pace for like a long time. So just keep that NOS really, really full and try to use bits of it every time you get air. Other than that, there's really no secrets or cuts or anything like that. You just want to use your NOS in the air. All right, let's move on. All right, the next event or the last event is called Nightly Currents. Now, my advice on this one is the same, but there is some little tricks here at the front of the pack. So right when you start, all of the boats are going to go kind of crazy. You just want to get to this inside because you're going to use these boats to make this turn. You can't get outside and then cut back inside. You will never make it. So I barely made it like this. Got the checkpoint and then used NOS to get around this guy. But the start is always really weird on this one. Now, in addition to that, there's a couple of things you need to watch out for, and that's the wind. Set yourself up. After you do it a few times, you'll know exactly where you need to go. But basically, on this jump at, 30 seconds or whatever, point yourself to the right. Make sure you're using NOS in air. My advice is still the same as it was for the previous boat one, but there's a few little things that we can talk about in terms of air NOS. So let me fast forward to this one particular spot because I made up a lot of time on this one spot over here. All right, you can recognize this with this gate right here. This gate will be your signal. The next checkpoint is the one you want to hit the buoy on. It's going to send the boat way up in the air, and this particular boat has a lot of NOS power. So check this out. I mean, crazy, right? So I didn't do it so well there. I didn't take advantage of the speed, but look what happened on lap 2. Keep an eye on my speed here. So I hit it more square, over 200 in the air, over 200 again when I land because I got a little bounce. Now, the other tricky part about this lap is the final turn here. You want to try to stay left as much as possible. There's a little tree that you can hit on this left side. After this checkpoint, there's a breakable tree. You break that, it slows you down just enough to make the turn, and then you're on your way. Now, one thing I didn't talk about in the other event for boats is the trimming. So you want to be trimming the entire time. And the default button for trimming is the left joystick down. which is difficult because then you can't steer properly. So I recommend remapping your buttons and make the trim the left trigger. So you just hold both of the triggers the whole time and you steer with the left. If you need to steer sharply, like on this corner here, you let off the left trigger so that the boat settles down and turns sharper. If you're holding the left trigger, you're gonna go faster. If you're letting it go, you can turn better. That's kind of how that works. Anyways, that's it. Let's move on to the feats. All right, I'll let the feats play out and we'll be back with the final scores. All right, here are my final scores. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can DM me with any questions you might have on Instagram or Discord. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this helps, and I will catch you on the next one. Trigger out.
you.